story. Appreciate it. And Dave, that's very cool. I agree. Pete Alonso has reinvigorated a lot of people in the Northeast. Dave on our YouTube channel, Lou, is bringing up that he does collect vintage, but for example, Pete Alonso and some of what's going on with modern baseball, a lot of the young guys being just so good, has kind of reinvigorated his, let's say, desire to check out some of the modern products that are going on.
Oh, Alonso is fun as hell.
Oh, yeah.
But that comes into, are these cards, is an Alonso card going to have value going forward? Is there a way to project that? I mean, we can project how good Pete Alonso is going to be. Great power hitter with a hit tool, but
sure.
What about the value of the card and collecting?
Great point. I think that if they remain a good player and they have an upward plight, then I think they certainly have a chance to increase in value and such. But I think the real question you're asking, Lou, and I don't know the answer to this, is, right, it's 20 years down the road. Are LeBron's rookies that are limited all going to be worth a lot of money? Is it only going to be the one rookie? Because let's remember, when Mantle, when Mays, when Rhodes, when Bench, when all these guys up until about the 80s hit, and even then they only have a couple rookies, most of the big guys, they either have 1, 2, or 3 rookies. Now there's 17 different Pete Alonso rookies to choose from. I think that's going to be the real challenge for collectors. How do you discern, if you will, where to put your money and where you're going to be safe?
The other thing you run into, and we've got 2 prime examples here. You've got Mike Trout, who I will say is possibly the greatest player to ever play the game.
Sick.
And I know the vintage guys are going to rail at that, but he's just an incredible talent. He's very young. You look at Albert Pujols, who is one of the best right-handed hitters I've ever seen, but he's played so long on his injuries and so long into his career that we tend to forget he's had that Willie Mays Mets phase for a long time now, and I wonder if that tends to diminish his value.
Interesting.
Because we forget how good Albert Pujols was.
There's, for whatever it's worth, just because you brought up Pujols, in the last 30 days, his cards have definitely picked up, and I think they picked up mainly because, if you look at what he's doing now at his age and the stats he's acquiring and as he's moving up the charts, I mean, it's remarkable to think about. And by the way, he's extremely well liked. So he does a lot for charity. You could read all about him on the internet. He's, very well liked individual. And so I just think that when you put up those kinds of numbers, listen, at the end of the day, he dominated the era. He may not have dominated every year, but he did dominate. And I do remember, it always stuck with me that my dad said something to me when I was a kid, because I asked him, I was really into stats. And I said, hey, how did Sandy Koufax make the Hall of Fame? He didn't pitch long enough, Dad. You told me you had to be in the league for so many years, or you had to hit a certain plateau of strikeouts. And he said, you know what, Leighton? Or you know what, son? This is the deal. And certainly all the Hall of Fames, specifically baseball, are very focused on stats, no doubt. However, the one thing that I think has proven over time, Lou, and please let me know what you think, but if you dominate an era, if you dominate a period, even if it's not maybe as long as, let's say, the writers or the voters would have liked it to be, if you truly were the best and you dominated, you do have a legit chance to be a Hall of Famer.
That's one of the roads. I think that's one of the roads into the Hall of Fame. And by the way, it may be a road that Pedro took.
Totally agree with you. Yep.
And Pedro, at a time, was as good as I've ever seen. There was a 3-4 year period in there where he was as good as I've ever seen.
He was amazing. Yeah, I know. He's actually enjoyable to watch. Yeah.
He hurt himself, and he had a longish career, but he was really dominant for 3 or 4 years in there. As opposed to Glavine, who was dominant for a long time. And, Greg Maddux, who was dominant for a long time.
It's funny. Let's just talk about Glavine and Pedro, right? Because we both know that era pretty well. Hey, Glavine's a great pitcher. But is there any freaking doubt in your mind that if you had to choose one of those two for a big game, 9.8 out of 10, I don't even care if Pedro was righty and Glavine was lefty. I wouldn't care if everyone was lefty in the lineup. I'd still go with Pedro.
Oh, 2 different shelves. Pedro's on another shelf up. I'll go that way with Greg Maddux. I often describe Maddux as the Major League Baseball Brady. Not the bulk talent that you'd like to see in a pitcher, but he knew his way through the game.
Oh, my goodness. He was amazing.
The big question I'm interested for people outside of the Boston area is Curt Schilling a Hall of Famer? Because I believe he is. He's a borderline stats guy. And again, my thing about the Hall of Fame is, have you got a Schilling story? I've got a bunch of them.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Winning with Arizona, winning with the Red Sox after saying he would, the bloody sock game, his playoff record. He's a Hall of Famer in my mind.
Interesting. Well, this definitely could make for certainly some great follow-up shows, Lou. Just debating people, getting everyone's input and such. As we're, of course, opening up ball cards.
So Curt Schilling is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Dave, I agree with you. Koufax is definitely one of the few ball players I wish I could have watched. And for that matter, I think would be a great question to ask right now of our audience. If there's one, just baseball player, we'll keep it simple. If there's one baseball player that you could have watched, and let's just say non-Babe Ruth, right? I mean, let's be honest. If you like baseball or you love baseball, everyone would have liked to see Babe Ruth. But putting Ruth aside, who is the one other player besides Ruth you really would have liked to see in person?
Have to be Mays, right?
I think Koufax is definitely up there for me, or Bob Gibson, meaning like a pitcher that just scared the bejesus out of the batters when they came to the circle
Yep.
and was so dominant. I think to me is very exciting. Yep, Ty Cobb, Ted Williams, these are all good answers. Absolutely.
Mickey Mantle. What Mickey Mantle though? Mickey Mantle in his prime.
Prime, yes.
Love to see him. Yeah.
Yeah. Ernie Banks is good. Clemente, most certainly.
Ted, how the hell old are you? You haven't seen Hank Aaron. Let me get some young guys in here.
We do.
Yeah.
Folks, we got about 5 minutes left before we cut off the list for comments to have a chance at our 7 prize participation promo pool.
Yeah, Sean says Schilling tainted his career post-career, and I don't know if that's applicable. I just don't know.